If you look in your packet, you'll see that we've provided all of you with a copy of our MLS consumer website effectiveness study. The title's a little misleading in a way because, as people have pointed out since we published it, this is really about har.com, which is the website that many of you have probably heard about. It's done a very effective job in the Houston market of providing consumers with a wonderful place to shop for property, and it's also provided their member brokers with a wonderful way to welcome them into a transaction. So in Houston, it is definitely a member benefit. We were most interested in Houston to get some data out of it. So we have seen a lot of information that was provided by their CEO, Bob Hale, and one of the things that was missing from that was clear and concise broker perspective on the website and the role that it serves in their market. But moreover, why do consumers like it so much? Why is it so successful? I think when an earlier show of hands, about 50% of you have consumer-facing websites. That's about right. And so, you know, what's interesting to us about that is that I think about 5 years ago when we were doing research for the National Association of Realtors, and they surveyed the members. At the time, somewhere around 30% of members were in favor of an MLS consumer-facing website. And they continue to do the survey asking the same questions year after year, and now that number's up to 50%. So it's probably rational and correct that about 50% of you have them because about 50% of realtors believe that that's a member benefit. I titled this slide Groundswell because things are changing in the industry, and I think Michael did a really nice job of talking about the interconnectedness of IDX, VAL policies, data sharing, regionalization. All of these things put pressure on something like this as a member benefit. And that's all it is, a member benefit. For some of you who might have competitors in a nearby region who are trying to absorb your members, and they're doing it with a suite of member benefits that you don't match up to correctly relative to the price they're paying, you better change your business. Because, you know, it's pretty hard for a realtor who's a member of one MLS to look at their neighbor right next door and say, it's $20 a month cheaper, and they provide me with more services, better services. And I've used them both, so I can judge. So you have to consider those things strategically. There are markets in the United States where an MLS consumer-facing website absolutely should not exist. No reason for it. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. There are markets where there's a lot of pressure on organized real estate, where third-party intermediaries who don't buy or sell property, who don't help buyers and sellers with property transactions, are getting in the middle of the relationship between the consumer and the property in a way that's benefiting them financially at the expense of the realtor or the real estate agent. So in those markets where that exists for your market, you better look at this because it can be effective, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Groundswell. There's a very popular book by the same title that's out today. It was written by some pretty sharp people at Forrester Research. The definition is there, but it's a spontaneous movement of people. And what's happening a lot in industries today, especially in the technology industry, is that with Web 2.0, where consumers are beginning to be able to manipulate and control the way that information comes to them through the internet, we're seeing those choices actually define the ways that that information is starting to be compiled. And technology companies have done a really great job of getting out ahead of real estate on this issue. Zillow is the greatest example. We've had AVM for a long time in the MLS world. We've got sold data, we've been able to compile this stuff, not a big deal. Some of it better than others, not always reliable, but a pretty decent indicator. Well, Zillow says, let's make it public. And everybody rushes to it. Oh my God, this is great information. Sold data, we've had that for a long time. We kept it private, we put it in our VAL policies. Can't show it, right? Unless you're working with a consumer. Now it's available pretty much everywhere. Public record information is going to be out there. You're going to have to consider what you're going to do with these issues as they come forward in your marketplace. If it's not around as an issue in your marketplace today, anticipate it being there tomorrow or the next day, because it's not far. These things happen very quickly. One of the things I wanted to just make a point of here, it's on my slide, I should read it. Consumers have already changed their behavior. So we've had statisticians from Cal Poly, which is a pretty well recognized technology school in San Luis Obispo, have a look at all of the numbers that are reported out there about consumer behavior on the internet to real estate. And as best as we can tell, as scientifically as we can measure it, consumers seem to go between 4 and 6 websites when they're searching for property. Okay? So when you think about this concept, make sure you understand that it's not about one website. It's kind of about a many. And probably the website that offers the most comprehensive set of information that help consumers make decisions about whatever it is they're trying to do in real estate is going to be the one that becomes prevalent in the marketplace. We've seen this happen in the automotive industry. It's happened in a lot of other industries as well. We looked at automotive the other day because it's kind of interesting. You can go to BMW.com, you can spec out the kind of car you want exactly. Then they have some calls to action here. I don't have a pointer, but you know, you can get a quote, request a drive. So they're doing a very good job in the automotive industry of taking a customer, landing them on a product, and then moving them out to a dealer who can help them in the best possible way. And that's your goal if you're going to have a consumer-facing website in real estate. Okay? Some of the other things that are interesting about the automotive industry is the different types of websites that exist out there. There are third-party websites, independent retailer, they call them websites, and then manufacturer websites. Sound familiar? Lines up pretty nicely to real estate, doesn't it? And as you go through this, you can see what penetration rates are and habits. This is the colors you see up there are different countries, and I thought that was interesting because of the behavior that we're seeing in Germany versus the behavior that we're seeing in the United States. And the automotive industry, I think if you were to ask most people in the real estate industry today, has automotive done a better job online than real estate? A lot of people would probably say yes, because they've used the internet to purchase a car. But actually only 44% of consumers actually do that. Most consumers are, in real estate, we're like in the 80s, which statistically speaking is everyone. Yeah. So this is where we're getting to here with groundswell in real estate. 87% of consumers shop online. Consumers probably visit 6 websites. This next piece is really important. And I'm going to kind of go through this in a way that helps those of you who have existing consumer-facing websites so that you can benefit from understanding that it's not just about buyers. This data came from our HAR study. The percentages in your market may vary slightly, but one thing that you can take away from this is that the reasons why consumers come to these websites is pretty balanced across a variety of areas. So some are just looking for fun. Has anyone gone to Zillow and checked out the price of your neighbor's house? Of course you have. Some people just bought a home. This is very interesting. There's buyer's remorse in real estate. Lo and behold, you buy a house, did I pay too much? You're still scared about it, even after the transaction's closed. People that are buying a home, obviously, but that's only 16% here. And then when you break out buyers, you have to remember that they come from a lot of different places. If you read through the HAR study that you see here, there's a tremendous amount of information that we got about relocation people, that HAR.com helped them pick a home, find a real estate agent, made their decision to relocate to Houston easier. So there's a little Chamber of Commerce skit in here, which is pretty important as well. A lot of people buying vacation homes, people selling a home, relocation to Houston, and then this is interesting, recently sold a home. So we see seller's remorse, which is pretty interesting. I know, folks like Roost who really focus on the consumer experience when they're on a website do a really good job of understanding that these different people take different paths through the website to come up with different information. And you need to address those if your consumer-facing website is going to be effective as a member benefit. Now we're going to talk a little bit about philosophy. I believe that this whole issue about whether to have a website or not have a website is what we call in philosophy a slippery slope argument, meaning that you could argue just as strongly to not do any of it as you could to do all of it. And wherever you are in that slope, there are always going to be examples, what ifs, that would say, I shouldn't do it, and there are also going to be an equal big barrel that's going to say, I should do it. And what you really need to do when you're addressing this concern is focus on it just like you would any other member benefit. Survey the members, find out how many of them feel it's important to them. Do focus groups, find out why. Make sure that you deliver on the promise once you do it.